The most alive place is also the most dangerous and guarded zone in the world. Hello, my name is Stefan. I'm 15 years old and I'm Ukrainian. I arrived to Canada about 3 months ago because of the conflict between my country and Russia. Today, I'm gonna tell you about borders. I think it's really important these days to know when a country is invading another and tries to make it look normal. What is a border and how does it work? Who owns Antarctica? What is an embassy and who is an ambassador? How big are a country's territorial waters? And who celebrates New Year first? That I'm going to tell you right now.
Let's start with the new year. What do you think? Where does it start? Maybe Lapland, Alaska, the land of the rising sun, Japan? No. Where the new year starts, it doesn't snow at all.
This is a border between today and tomorrow. At the start, it goes about 180th meridian and then quickly bends to the east and then goes south again. That means when here on Hawaii Islands and here in French Polynesia, only 1 a.m. of December 2021, and they're getting ready for a sleep before the loud night, here on Kiribati Islands would be 1 a.m. of January 2022, and everyone has already opened champagne and launched fireworks.
New Year is a happy and fun time, but we are trying to find out more about borders, so let's do it.
All borders are built on violence and blood, but let's have a look at when they appeared in their modern form. Here is the age of every international border in the world. In Western Europe, lines were drawn long ago, in the 12th, 13th, and 18th centuries, but most of the borders in the world appeared at the end of the 19th and first half of the 20th century. This is a division of the colonies and the consequences of two world wars. But it's only lines on the map, so let's see how they look in real life. Borders can simply be made of metal fences around the edge, as on the US and Mexico border, where you can swim with inhabitants of a neighboring country, or a metal net under which is laid motion sensors like between Yemen and Saudi Arabia, or a concrete wall like between Israel and Palestine, or between Morocco and Western Sahara where there were skirmishes with partisans, sandy ramparts, minefields and artillery stretch for thousands of kilometers. You're probably thinking, borders are high walls with armed guards and it's really hard to get through. In fact, these are all large walls and fences on the planet. And the Great Wall of China, by the way, is not here because it no longer protects from anyone anymore. But there are borders that we talked about before, plus the zone between North and South Koreas, and walls on both sides of India. So many borders look like a low fence with barbed wire, and sand so that traces footsteps on it. Often, rivers, seas, and impassable mountains come to the aid of border guards, such borders that no one can pass through. But there are borders between countries that you can cross accidentally and not even notice. Border between Belgium and the Netherlands looks like this. This area of Parle-Hertog were 22 Belgian and 8 Dutch pieces. Border passes through cities, quarters, and even separate houses. In fact, you can move from country to country just by re-airing a chair in a restaurant, or buy a beer in one country and pay for it already in another. And don't be afraid that a border guard will shoot in your back. But not everything is so peaceful and not everything is simply solved. There are huge amount of land in the world claimed by several states at once, and it's simply impossible to make a globe that would not offend any country. There is an interactive map of disputed territories. Click on the country and you can see with whom and for what territories it is arguing. Even such a peaceful state as Denmark or Ireland arguing for the territories. Kashmir is claimed by 3 countries at once and each has nuclear weapons. Who owns land we understood? But what about Antarctica? Maybe you didn't know, but even in Antarctica, there are borders. Antarctica is divided into property like a pizza. One piece is claimed by Great Britain, another by Norway, a third by Australia, the rest by France, New Zealand, Chile, Argentina. But this piece of pizza left in the box half eaten. No one claims to be there. We have cleared up a question about the borders, but now imagine that you are part of a border. Basically, everywhere you go, a part of the state comes with you. No, it's not a fantasy, just it's what is being an ambassador. And here's what's interesting. And ambassadors have diplomatic immunity. They can't be arrested even if they killed someone. You can say that they have antibodies to local laws. And since they work in an embassy, immunity also applies to it. But people don't always like this outcome. They simply can storm buildings, so embassies very often fortify. Embassy of the USA in Iraq is a real fortress. In area, it is larger than the State of the Vatican. Here, its own diesel generators, fire stations, well for water, internet. During the war, 16,000 people worked in the embassy. They were visiting swimming pool, tennis court, shopping center, and nail salon, and flew there by helicopter. Okay, to divide territory on a land, you can just put a fence or a huge wall, like Trump suggested, but what about sea? It's just water, yeah? Previously, 3 nautical miles from the coast were considered as territorial waters, because it was exactly the distance at which the cannon fired, so your territory is as far as the cannon's reach. I can protect, so it's mine. Today, a rocket reaches anywhere in the world, but territorial waters are 12 nautical miles from the coast. Everything is clear with water, but what about air? According to the medieval principle, whoever owns the land owns everything, from heaven on top to hell underground. It was believed that the borders of the states of the principalities go up and down to infinity. And if a bird flies above your land, then it is yours. And if a mole drips underground, it is also yours. So let's summarize. Territory of the state is not only lines on the map, but also 12 miles of territorial waters, also infinity to the top and infinity to the bottom, plus ambassadors and ships under its flag that carry its sovereignty with himself anywhere in the world. Here is the main idea of the video. Do you like it or not, but all borders in a whole history were built on blood. People were killed and died for them. Lines on the map only show how strong, aggressive or successful this or that country was hundreds years ago. But have a look. From the space you can't see any borders. Lines separating our countries exist only in our heads and on the paper. When you cross in the border, air doesn't change its properties, or birds don't begin to sing in a different language. In our days, borders became absolute. Factories are polluting the air, glaciers are melting, and therefore the Netherlands has to build dams so that they are not flooded. Bottle of the beer thrown in a glove of Finland will end up in a large Pacific garbage patch. And Kiribati Islands, who celebrate the New Year first, can completely go underwater. We are all one humanity. Internet erases all borders. New generation no longer understand why fight with someone, and here is a story that can inspire all of us. In 1914, in Christmas Eve, English and German soldiers on the front of the First World War suddenly stopped shooting, began to sing songs, and then left their trenches to give each other Christmas gifts, and even played football. Here is this archival footage. They refused to die in order to move the border a couple of kilometers. Such behavior when you refuse to kill and don't want to be killed, called live and let live.